Hey guys, got another YouTube video for you today. Yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I've decided to start a new series on YouTube. Not a series. I'm just gonna do another series of videos. Probably not all at once. Probably only gonna do like one today, and it's gonna be part one of a series of videos. And I apologize for not bringing the videos that I was probably said I was gonna do at some point, if I remember correctly, about substituted amphetamines. I apologize if I did have plans to finish that off very soon, but I'm just not really feeling up to it right now. So I've decided I am going to bring you a series of videos on opiates. Up here, you'll probably see the title, Opiates Explained, Part 1. Something to that effect, whatever I decide to fucking name it when I put this up. I'm using shit Windows Media Player or Movie Maker, what the fuck. Yeah, Movie Maker. Fuck me. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna start this video off with a quick explanation of what opiates are. They are basically any alkaloid that either resembles in its effects an opiate that can be obtained from Papaver somniferum, or the opium poppy, where the name opiate comes from. The most prominent one of these is actually morphine. Morphine is named after the god Morpheus, who is the god of dreams, and he's quite commonly in Greek mythology. When you get pictures of him, he's quite commonly depicted holding the big bundle of poppies. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get into gritty details on the most well-known, opiate, morphine. So here we go. I actually did do like 5 minutes of research just to real quick find a drawing so I could convey to you what the morphine molecule would look like when drawn. So here it is. I'm just gonna tab back into this real quick. See, that's, as you can see right there, you got a basic benzene ring on these. You actually have a couple, one down here and one up here. This is the only one that has all the double bonds to make up a benzene ring. This only has one double bond as far as I know. I haven't found anything else. As you can see, there's a methyl group here, which, if you look at the full name of morphine, actually does come in at some point. You got your nitrogen here. You got a couple different stereoisomer creating bonds, if I'm remembering correctly, which I'm probably not, so bear that in mind. You actually have two hydroxy groups on the side, right here, yeah, there, and on, and what the fuck, and a hydrogen, and an oxygen, of course. You can see that. But yeah, all in all, it looks very simple, which, when it comes right down to it, as molecules go, it's far simpler than a lot of them. Fuck's sake. Like, for instance, cocaine, that has a propane ring on it. Not as easy to find as benzene. You'd be surprised. Anyway, yes, let's move on. Morphine was actually first isolated in 1804, if I'm getting the right information, which I hope I am. And it was actually commercially sold by Merck in 27 on. It was not widely used at that time, because at the time, hypodermic needles were not around. It wasn't until about 30, 40 years later that actually came into being, and people would start shooting morphine. Don't get me wrong, they have a right to do whatever they want with their body. I'm not going to judge them for it. It's actually the most abundant alkaloid in the opium sap, the latex from the opium poppy, which is hard to process. There's also thebaine in there, which is the necessary precursor for quite a few synthetics, like hydrocodone, Vicodin, can actually be made into codeine and morphine, and hydromorphine, if I remember correctly, which, once again, I might not. But it's not actually an opiate in nature until it's converted into one of those things. It's actually quite stimulant in the body, and toxic, to be completely honest. Anyway, moving on. Yep, so I already told you about thebaine. As a general rule, opiates, all when taken, induce euphoria, relaxation. They induce shortness of breath. Not shortness of breath, that's not the right term I'm looking for. decreased cardiovascular function and decreased lung function. Not to the point of death, unless you OD, of course, which nobody should want to do unless they're suicidal. So, it decreases it lower than it should be, like normally would be. It doesn't kill you, unless you know, well, OD, basically. I've already said that. When taken, it actually acts as an antidiuretic, which is why it's quite, in Imodium AD, they do actually have an opiate. I can't remember the exact name, you have to give me a minute. I'll pull that up in the meantime. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, moving on. That's actually what AD and Imodium AD stands for, so aren't you all lucky you just found out what that stood for today. Anyway, yeah. So we're gonna keep moving here. If I remember correctly, another derivative of morphine is methadone, which was actually first isolated in Germany in the 1800s. I don't know the exact year. Shit. I can find out in a minute, though, because I'm opening one of my source books on my computer that I don't have anywhere else, apparently, in my home, which I should. But, oh well. Okay, not gonna find it there. So I'm just gonna keep talking until I can get this down to a point sorts. Anyway, yeah, minimize that window. There we go. Okay, yes. So moving on. Maybe I'm not supposed to minimize that window. What the fuck? Why won't it? It's being a bitch. I apologize. My computer's being a bitch today. Anyway, yes, quite. As a general rule, when someone withdraws from an opiate, like all withdrawals, you basically do the exact opposite, where opiates would make you less not energetic, although they would make you less energetic. No, there's a word for it I'm thinking of, but it's when you're more likely to have muscle spasms of sorts. But when you withdraw from it, it basically doesn't prevent you. It gives you muscle spasms in the legs mostly, which is why it is called kicking the habit, because you literally have your leg kicking out like that just because you're with the lack of the drug. How do I explain this better? Withdrawals are like this. Think of this as where you are when you're not on drugs. Just a baseline is right here, okay? You take drugs, your body does this, or this, depending on what you're taking. For instance, amphetamines and cocaine, up here. Opiates and weed, bring you more towards down here in body function and what it's doing. But the minute you start withdrawing, you don't go back to normal, you go all the way in the opposite direction. In the case of opiates, up here, and in the case of cocaine and amphetamines, down here. Somewhere where you can see it, there we go. Yeah, it brings you down. If it's something that would normally make you speedy, or up if it would normally make you down, basically. But the thing is, as you get more addicted, the effects are less down here and more right at baseline for what you need to survive. Because at that point, your body stops really thinking of the drug as a new thing, when it stops interacting with it in that way, and instead it goes back to where it would be once you're addicted, because you develop that much of a tolerance. My personal theory is that addiction is really just a very hyperextended tolerance level. It's so tolerated in your body that the minute you stop taking it, your body jumps into overdrive in one direction or the other, just because it was already at baseline while you were addicted to it, and now that you're no longer at baseline, it's got to go in the other direction, the exact opposite, in other words. That's not the right thing. Oopsie, open the wrong thing. I apologize. I didn't really plan all that well ahead. I was just doing this for the moment because I had the house to myself for a little while. Anyway, I will be right back once I figure something out. So, toodaloo for like 5 seconds. Okay, I'm back. I just found out when methadone was first created, and it was actually first created during the Second World War as the German substitute for morphine, which came from Turkey, which at the time I believe was controlled by the British. which would have been, you know, a little difficult to obtain, let's be honest. Anyway, yeah, moving on. I'm sorry, I left the screen on my TV. Moving on. And I realize it might be hard to see my face because my lamp is behind me and so on. But I'm going to try to just keep talking. Anyway, it was supposed to be a synthetic workaround for morphine, which, of course, it isn't, because it doesn't have any pain-relieving effects. It's basically just keep your body from going, nope, fuck you, you get to die. You get to have a massive spaz attack now that you run out of morphine, and dead. So, it's basically just to serve as maintenance to make sure you don't withdraw to death. Doesn't actually have any analgesic power, really. But it does amazingly last anywhere from 24 to 72 hours on average. Which I know that sounds like a really wide range. It all depends, once again, on your opiate tolerance. Anyway, that was part 1. I apologize for all the umming and ahhing and really lack of care I took to prepare this video, but it was, once again, kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was bored, and I had to ask myself for a little while, because my grandmother is out at a movie, and my mother is, I don't know where. I think she's at the movie, too, and I didn't want to see it, so... Sorry, I was staring at the screen on my TV. Again. So, thanks for watching. Please don't dislike because of the umming and ahhing. I realize it's shit. You don't need to inform me of it with comments either. If you're going to dislike it because, you know, you think I'm retarded or something, or that I have no place commenting on any of these things, but then remember that you're probably just an ignorant prick. Because, just because I'm younger than you or something doesn't mean I can't do something intelligently. I apologize for the rambling and the mildly insulting language I've been using. So, I'm going to stop now before I dig myself a deep, deep hole and fuck myself over so hard that I never get another subscriber again. See ya. Bye. I apologize for all the stupid shit I said, too.